Yeah, today I'm gonna be talking about becoming uncomfortable is the catalyst for courage that you need to be able to change. And this is some reflections that I had just watching. I was watching this documentary on Toni Morrison on Netflix. It was I thought it was a powerful kind of not biography, kind of, if you will, of her life, and how she became a writer and what she was writing about, and just the whole African American experience throughout American history. So I thought that was really good. But one of the things that just kind of stuck with me was this: what her writings are very provocative, if you will, and I'm not much of a reader, so I'm gonna have to actually read some of her books. That's gonna be my next thing, but maybe I'll find it on audiobooks. I love to consume my books through audiobooks and visual content, I guess. But anyways, I may actually read her books. But in her books, she writes about these fictitious stories to kind of put the reader into these time periods throughout history, from the African American experience, being slaves to different circumstances, and really, I was hearing these different people that read her books and were influenced by her books, how these books made them feel uncomfortable. And it really got me thinking about how becoming uncomfortable is what we need in order to change, to become a better person. And so we might not like to be uncomfortable. We all would rather just be comfortable, right? I make this joke with my patients that when I am thinking about going to work out, my body's like, forget that, man. That's like torture to the body. Just rest, relax, and just take it easy, and feel good. Have a little drink and just relax. Forget that workout. And that's what my body is saying to me, is fighting against this idea of exercise and doing what's right for my body. And so I got to fight it. And because we want to stay in our comfortable setting. We don't want to change. We like to keep things the same. And life is always changing. Life is always, things at work, things in family is always changing. Your kids grow up and they move out. I mean, life is change. And we would just rather just keep things the same. But that's not what will help us to grow. And that's not what is going to help us to become better versions of ourselves. I really believe that, people that have shown courage, they've been heroes, they've stepped into action. I believe the only difference between them and someone else that was there at that same situation, same spot, is they became so uncomfortable for to be just a bystander, an onlooker. They had to take action. And so, courage, I think, is birthed out of feeling uncomfortable. And we have to be courageous in order to change, in order to take action, because we have these self-preservation mechanisms. We want to keep ourselves safe. We want to just kind of go with the flow and not go against the grain. But when we become so uncomfortable, when we can't just keep the status quo, then that's when we're going to change. That's when we're going to want to affect change. And so, thinking about rebooting health, this is this is the message for today. And anyways, I got some notes here. So as long as your health is good enough, your relationships are good enough, your career is good enough, thinking is good enough, life is good enough, you got enough money to pay the bills, life is okay, it's good, we could just keep going. And you could settle into mediocrity. what's going to make you want to do more is becoming uncomfortable in your current circumstance, wanting more, wanting to do more, wanting to affect change, not wanting to stay with the status quo. So that's when comfort becomes counterproductive. If we just accept our level of standard, or where, or whatever circumstance we find ourselves in, we just accept that as normal or acceptable, as maybe this is as good as it gets kind of idea, then we're not going to want to do anything differently. Okay, so and there's an old saying that until the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of changing, we don't change. So what do we do? Do we wait for something to happen in our lives to affect the change in our lives? Well, you could, but sometimes it doesn't happen. Some of us are set up in a good situation. Maybe we're born into a more privileged situation, or we just have, we kind of like have our lucky stars or something like that. All the stars align, and life is good. And so you could settle in to that level of mediocrity, and not really do anything great in your life. And I'm not trying to tell you how to live, but this is a message for some people that have that little itch to want to do more with their lives, and how to cultivate that. Because unless we cultivate that uncomfortableness, we let it become more itchy, if you will, and we got to scratch it. We can't just let it be there. We got to scratch it. It's like, sometimes my patients will have like casts, or they talk about when they had casts on their arms. I know it's not as common anymore, but people would have casts on their arms, and that will literally become so itchy underneath. And I've heard patients using rulers and different things, pencil to stab in there and try to scratch underneath the cast, and they couldn't, they knew it was bad, or they shouldn't be doing that, because they could make a wound under the cast, and that could be problematic and lead to infection. So but they were uncomfortable. They had to do something. And so I'm going to be talking about how to cultivate that in your own life, where you don't just settle for mediocre life,